How's everybody doing today? I'm going to unmute everybody's mics real quick. If you'll just take literally 5 seconds to give us your name, where you're calling in from, and then we're going to kick off this call. Just so everybody who wasn't on before the video started, we have a special guest, Mr. Brent Johnson. Talked him into joining us today. He is a loan officer, a veteran in the game, and we recently onboarded as a client this last week, and him and I have been working pretty closely together this week, so I talked him into hanging out with us today for a little bit, and we're going to actually go through his campaign that we're running right now. We're sending leads to him right now. So I'm going to unmute everybody, and we'll start out with, actually the easiest way to do this, we'll start at the top with Brent. I'll unmute you first. Brent, just real quick, everybody, 5 seconds, your name and where you're calling in from, and what you do as your primary business or what you do for a living.
So I'm Brent Johnson. I actually live in San Antonio, Texas, and just recently signed on, and I think we've had 6 leads, and I've got 2 applications so far. So I'm really excited about the campaign and looking forward to the webinar.
Awesome. All right, we've got Brian, you there?
Yeah. Hey, I'm Brian. I work with Scott at Automated Inbound. I'm calling in from Salem, Alabama.
Brian's got a snow day with the kids, and we've got call-in user number 7. Not sure who that is. Who's calling in on the phone? You're unmuted.
Scott, that could be my phone.
That's you. Who is it?
Yeah, this is Jeff Fulmer.
Jeff, man. This is Jeff's first call with us as well. Jeff, introduce yourself.
It is, and I'm calling from just outside Salt Lake City, Utah, and just getting back into originating, and I've been talking to Scott, so interested in learning everything I can.
Awesome, man. Welcome to the call. We've got Derek. Derek, you're on. You there?
Oh, yeah, yep, I'm here.
Tell us your name, where you're calling in from, and what you do for a living.
I am Derek Cohen, and I am inside of Salt Lake City. Jeff Fulmer, you must be real close to me. Your last name is familiar. I know a lot of Fulmers around here. But I basically do digital marketing, Facebook advertising. The majority of my money is coming from NBC right now. I do some digital advertising for movies that the Sci-Fi Channel and Chiller Networks puts out.
Awesome. Derek's a long-time Rainmaker client. We've got Gary Zaidman. You're on. Gary, you're on. You there? Okay. Gary said his mic isn't working now. We've got Mr. Jake Hoffberg, and Jake just jumped in. Jake, we're 5 seconds on your name, where you're calling in from, and what you do for a living.
Ha. Hey, what's up? It's Jake Hoffberg. I'm calling in from Charlotte, North Carolina, and that's the sound of a vacuum cleaner in the background, too. It's my house cleaner.
Today's work at home day, man.
Yeah, dude. What I do high net worth investor lead generation for financial services companies. So I help financial advisors get more millionaires to pay them money.
Awesome, man. I think I just tried to cut my video on at least. I'm not sure if it's on. Jake's been a long-term one-on-one client with us, and Jake, you want to just give 5-10 seconds about some of the results you've had, campaigns that you're running, and that kind of stuff?
Sure. So I actually had too much results, as weird as it is. So like I had just this explosion of new customers. I actually had to turn off all my campaigns because I had to figure out how to handle all the new business that I got. So good problems to have. But I started working with Scott, I guess it was like the end of December, I think, was when I got into the Rainmaker course. And literally within 30 days, I was basically making 4-to-1 on my traffic spend is going into a front-end offer, into a back-end upsell for one-on-one work. And like literally had to turn it off 3 weeks ago because I couldn't handle how many customers wanted to pay me money for stuff. So
yeah, we love Jake. One of the things I just want to point out real quick before we move on, Jake, and we've got Jake. We also have Brent, which I don't think you're in to be introduced to, but Brent Johnson's a special guest today. One of the things I love about everybody that's in this room today that we've done business with, is that we kind of defy the odds. You know, we've got these verticals, these niches like the financial, the high-end financial, the good credit-worthy mortgage folks that everybody says you can't get those kind of leads on Facebook. What would you say to those people, man?
Clearly you can, and clearly I do, because you see my campaigns. So.
Yeah, exactly. All right, cool. Yeah, we're getting Brent on Pipe Drive today as well, so appreciate that, Jake. Jeff, you've already been introduced. Mike, let me unmute you. You're on, Mike.
Hey, Mike Coaches, just outside of Ann Arbor, Michigan. I do PPC, mostly AdWords and Facebook ads, Gen affiliate, and SaaS, just sort of a little bit of everything.
Awesome. So Mike's, for those of you that don't know, Mike's a member of the original Rainmaker call. And for those of you who don't know, how far does that go back, Mike? When did we start this, like 4 or 5 years ago, something like that, the weekly calls?
Yeah, I remember trying to look it up the other week. I think it was like 2012, 2013, something like that, a long time ago.
Send me a note, man. I'll send you one of the original bracelets. We've got a couple of those. All right, Mike, appreciate it, man. And then we've got Taylor, Mr. Howe. How you doing, man?
Hey, I'm good, guys. I'm also just outside of Salt Lake City, so it's cool that there's a couple other guys from the SLC here. I do Facebook ads and then Infusionsoft implementation as well. So I primarily, in fact, 100% of my customers are on the Infusionsoft platform. So that's me.
Hey, I didn't know that about you, Taylor. Oh, yeah, that's right. You were recently certified, right?
Yeah, exactly. Just got my partner's certification.
So before we move on, I kind of want to give you a plug on that because Infusionsoft is awesome if you're working with a certified partner, which you are, right?
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so in like 30 to 60 seconds, what would you say to those of us, including our agency that's on Pipe Drive, who would want to take it up a notch? What's the benefit of switching over to like Infusionsoft and working with you?
Yeah, thanks, man. So the main thing is that it gives you all of your kind of different platforms in one place. So it has opportunities, so sales pipelines, like probably similar to what Pipe Drive does. It has your CRM, so you can organize all your contacts and your companies you're working with. And then it also has email marketing, so drip campaigns, just regular broadcasts. And then and it also has an e-commerce function as well. So you could theoretically run like kind of all the different sides of your business from it, and that's cool. But the coolest part is the automation can be pretty much implemented in any of those areas, so you can automate a lot of things, which helps you save time.
Awesome. So hit Taylor up in the group if you guys need an Infusionsoft Pro. Appreciate that, Taylor. All right, guys, so today we're going to kind of jump right into things. I'm going to give you a quick rundown on what we're going to go over today. Obviously, the call's recorded, which you can access at fbrainmaker.com within 24 hours. And if you're on the WebEx list, you should get an email immediately after as well. Brian's taking call notes today, which will be uploaded with the call. But first, just let me really give you my appreciation for taking the time out of your day today. And I'm going to do my best to make sure this is hugely valuable and worth your time. Obviously, we've got Mr. Brent Johnson on the call, and I wanted to twist his arm a little bit to get him in here because Brent is a client that came in. Brent, I'm going to unmute you because I can't remember the exact details, but I think you started talking to our agency, was it like maybe 3-4 months ago, something like that?
Yeah, yes, it was.
So, and I want to be completely transparent with you. You and I kind of know each other now and stuff, and I can tell that, you know, we're talking on the same frequency and stuff. Give me your honest, because a lot of the guys in here are working with clients like you in different fields and stuff like that, or in the loan officer space. Give me your kind of honest evaluation of not our performance, but what were you looking for when you came? Because you came in through a Facebook ad, the same ads that we teach here. What was how did it feel to you, and why didn't you sign up with us, you know, within the first week that we started talking to you after you filled out the application?
So I've been, and it's going to be kind of a long drawn-out story. So I've been in the mortgage business for the last 20 years, and I've done everything from processing to own my own company. And then in 07, 08, the mortgage industry kind of collapsed, which I'm not sure you guys might be too young to remember that, but and it was tough. And I recently got back in, and you know, at the time, everything I loved about mortgage was the sales side of it, and it was really difficult to get customers. So I went over to the operations side, and I kind of transposed from that and got into a role where I was vice president of a company in Austin, Texas that does about $500 million a year in volume. But the whole entire time I had this aching feeling that I wanted to get back into the sales side of things. So when I responded to the Facebook ad, the idea behind it was that I want to start getting back into the sales side, but I'd been out of it for so long, I didn't have the realtor contacts that I was like, well, how am I going to do this? And everything I saw was talking about digital media and Facebook advertising. And, to me, the most important part of, and the reason why I signed on as a client is because I don't want to have this master-slave relationship with real estate agents where you're only as good as your last transaction. So I want to find the borrowers and the potential home buyers before they hit a real estate agent so that I can control that transaction. And that's
okay. So that's important is to you want to work with people who haven't already engaged and signed an agreement with a real estate agent, right?
Absolutely, because I don't want my business or my livelihood to be dependent upon a referral source that I have no control over. And then that's really what it all boils down to. And in my eyes, the whole lending industry is it's gonna transform over the next 5 years to where if the mortgage folks can be the ones to capture those leads, they will control the transaction and control their destiny.
Okay, so that's important to you. And I know even when we first started working with loan officers, and Brent probably knows this, but we pretty much exclusively work with in this space. That's why we're pretty good at it, if I can say so. But I know when I first started, talking with loan officers, I interviewed probably 80 to 100 before we even engaged a contract with one. And I thought that the primary reason that loan officers would buy from us, or at least the good ones, was that they only wanted the opportunities to close deals. But I soon found out, probably 4 to 5 months after we started, which was 4 to 5 months too late, there's really another primary motivator, which is just what you said, right? You don't want to be a slave to real estate agents.
Absolutely, because it's not a good relationship. it's not, and well, I'll be honest, it's not a relationship at all. I mean, it's what have you done for me today? And they are not loyal. They will, they'll shop people around. It's all dependent upon, like I said, your last transaction. You make one mistake in a very complex process. Yeah, and they'll move to someone else. So
they don't respect the process either. I've even, we've got tons of real estate agents that try to engage us. Obviously we're generating buyer leads. I refuse to work with them. Not that they're bad. It's just that I haven't committed to that because, like you said, not only are they not really appreciative of complex processes like what you do and what we do, but I think also they're quick to, like, they're very power hungry. Do you get that feeling from? You've been doing this a while.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they're very demanding. They want to, the normal cycle time for a mortgage transaction is 30 days, and they will call you and say, hey, I've got a client. I need you to close it in 21. But I also need a 5-star experience, and if you screw up, I'm not signing another deal. So
so they've got a little leverage. Difficult. Okay.
Absolutely.
Let me ask you, Brent, we've kind of identified really 3 main profiles of loan originators, at least in our agency, and that's the call centers like Wells Fargo and stuff like that, which we don't really work with because they're getting corporate leads or they're calling on old data and stuff. The brokers who kind of run their own show and they either want to grow an office or they want to add some passive income or maybe a recruiting tool to bring on more producers. Is that what you call the loan officers that work there? Are they producers?
Yeah, and that's the company that I work for now. That's their whole model is to grow business. They want to add producers. And it's backwards because, you can grow business by creating clients. You know what I mean? And you can feed it the other way. Like, take the people you already have. If you got 50 loan officers, but you provide them each with 15 or 20 quality leads every month, you're going to grow exponentially versus hiring an extra 30 people that are mediocre.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I think I could say rescued a lot of offices. We've actually got a guy in the group named Jason who he's just getting back into the game. He's a great originator. I can tell, he's a high producer because I can just, from working with him, but his biggest challenge, I think, was that he didn't really have any recruiting tools, being somewhat of a new, having the license, I guess, to be able to hire producers and open an office outside of, he's gotten the permission to do so, but they've given him some things that he has to meet. So he has to be writing 20 new loans per month, and then he also has to be able to prove that he's got a steady stream of new opportunities as a recruiting tool to bring on anyone with a draw pay. So is that pretty much standard for all companies, or is that just something unique that he's working out? The people that want to grow their office, how does that process normally work?
Well, that's exactly what it is. It's try to get more business, but typically whatever mortgage company you work for doesn't give you the tools or the game plan to get it. It's kind of like, you know, once you're in the door, you're on your own, and you got to figure out how you're going to do it, whether you're going to open houses, whether you're taking realtors to lunch. You know, there's all this activity that occurs, but none of it really warrants any results. And again, it all goes back to that whole thing where they really push you to build referral partnerships, which in my opinion, I want to switch it. And that's what I'm trying to do is I would rather the lead come to me, and then I choose which real estate agents or which CPAs or which financial advisors I send my clients to, because then I'm the one that's in charge and I'm the gatekeeper. So,
yeah,
that's how it's backwards. So.
Yeah, and I really appreciate this insight too, Brent, by the way. I appreciate you doing this. Let me ask you this. If you were to go out and find the best producing real estate agent, like maybe the best referral partner that you have currently, how many loans do you think, or at least qualified opportunities, are they sending you per month, like your best referral partner? If you did all that stuff that they told you to. Yeah.
See, and that's the thing that a lot of people don't realize about the real estate industry is a high producing realtor might close 3 or 4 transactions a month.
That's what I thought. It's like that's the top producing realtor, right?
Yeah, it is. It is, and that's, you know, that'll give them 50 a year, an average of, you know, $250,000. I mean, if they're a $10 million a year producer, they're making $250,000, $300,000 a year, and that's the top producing real estate agents. Well, a top producing loan officer can close 20 loans a month, so they need to have 5 of those top producers, and that's what makes it really difficult. Is because those top producers, no offense if there are any realtors on the phone or anyone that knows a realtor, but they get very arrogant and very cocky because they've got loan officers calling them all day, every day, looking for a little piece of their business. So what they'll do is they'll have 3 or 4 referral partners, and they'll throw each one a bone every month.
No, it's leverage. It's supply and demand. It's leverage. So your goal obviously is to get leverage over basically your entire local market. And I'm curious, I've asked several loan officers and even our clients this, what type of volume of good opportunities would you need to have per month to start to swing that back, do you think, where you could actually have a tool to start getting that leverage from other real estate agents?
I think 100 leads a month, if that translates over to 10 to 15% close rate to where you have 10 to 15 deals a month, I think that's kind of the starting point, because then you can start calling top producing real estate agents and say, hey, I know that you're doing business with XYZ, you know, ABC and DEF. However, what I can do different is I can give you an additional 3 loans a month or 3 transactions a month. Now, if they're doing that, fine, stay with them. But if they're not, then I want to capture all of your business, because this is a true partnership. We have equal control. I'm making you money. It's not the other way around. And that's key. What's important.
That's key. You know, and I want to take this opportunity to bring up just real quick, you know, when some of you guys know that one of my first businesses years back was an independent insurance agency, and we probably added $1 million in volume on our books within 4 months. And because of that, we were one of Georgia's fastest growing agencies and probably 10 different insurance carriers. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because the strategy that I employed in the local market, and this is important for you guys that are working with local clients, that where this leverage is part of the play. The strategy I employed was different than what other agents were willing to do. What I did was exactly what Brent's talking about. This is really key, guys. When you're working with referral partners, or when your clients have these type of leverage situations like these loan officers, real estate agents, any financial advisors, it's important that when you do offer them a tool, or you do help them have a key like this, a tool like this, that you help them use it to the best of their advantage. And the way you do that is exactly what we did. we would go to these buy here, pay here car dealerships, and not just buy here, pay here, but even retail. And we knew that these dealerships had, say, 50 cars that they had on their books that they had customers that would come in and pay every month. And so what I would do is I would just engage them. I would start out by sending them 2 or 3 referrals a week because we were generating leads online just like we do now. And after a week or two, you know, you basically get them hooked on the crack, right? Because they don't like to spend 10 grand a month on newspaper and TV advertising. You start giving them real quality referrals. And then just like what Brent's talking about, guys, after 2 to 3 or 4 weeks, you set up a meeting with them and you say, hey, look, you know, if this is something that you're interested in continuing with us, here's what I want to do. To make sure that I give you the service that you deserve and to make sure that your clients aren't confused, I want to take your book of business and I want to make sure that they're all insured under one umbrella so that way we can help you service those accounts. We can, you know, create some proprietary type systems with those accounts. And just like what Brent's saying, Brent, do you have any realtors that you have exclusive with right now, or what's the process like to set those up with the real estate agents?
Well, the conversation is all about reciprocation, and I think that's, to me, is the biggest flaw in the referral business, is that someone's giving someone else leads all the time, but it doesn't reciprocate. And I think with reciprocation comes a responsibility and a commitment to where it really is a true partnership. So yes, I have 3 real estate agents that send me exclusively all of their deals, no matter what, but it's because of the fact that I've given them something in exchange. And, you know, you're only worth your value, and that's really what it boils down to. My value to those referral partners is the fact that I feed them. Like I can sit down with them and go over a report that shows that I put $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 in their pocket every year, and any other mortgage guy that comes out there cannot do the same.
Yeah, and that's the other key too. A lot of the clients, especially loan officers that we bring on, just like what Brent's saying, Brent, that's the reason I wanted to bring you on, because I could tell, you know, us working together that you know what you're doing. The key here is that you change the conversation from, hey, if I don't, you know, have this loan processed within a 14-day window and exactly the specs and they get approved and all this, you change that type of almost pressure and stress, right? Like you're stressed if they don't have the correct debt to income. Well, maybe if I don't, you know, get this deal closed, they're going to go try somebody else, and then eventually that's going to become a partner, and then it's kind of a race to the bottom from that point. You change that conversation, and you change it to, instead of a deal for deal, you make it, if I continue to give you these opportunities, I want exclusive to your business. And it's not, it changes it from keeping score to just having a business partnership, a relationship that's professional, right? Is that pretty much what you're saying, Brent?
Exactly. And if you look at the scale of that, it's different. Like I said, a top producing real estate agent does 4 transactions a month. A top producing loan officer does 20. So you can have 5, 6, or 7 top producing real estate agents that are all sending you 100% of their business versus the other way around, if that makes sense. Like there's enough leads to where you can fill them, and that's where it
and there's room to grow too. Yeah,
right. And it's, you know, multi-state. There's all that stuff, and that's I'm not trying to cut you out, but the real estate agents are really, you know, they're landlocked. You know, they're in an MSA. They cannot sell typically outside of their, you know, 10-mile radius. But I can do,
that's interesting.
Yeah, I can do 6 states. Well, because they're not an expert. You know, you're Chicago
that's true.
area,
Yeah, the neighborhoods, schools, and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't know anything about in Chicago. They don't know anything about the Southern Illinois. Well, me being a loan officer, I can do the whole entire state. So I can have those relationships built by MSA or by, you know, metropolitan area, and you can theoretically get up to the point to where you have dozens of high-producing real estate agents sending you business.
Awesome. Let me ask you this, Brent, and then we're going to get into the actual ads campaign. I'm going to show you guys, we're actually going to optimize a campaign we've got running for Brent, and that's the reason I wanted to bring him in, so that way you guys can see. We're going to do some live optimization to get a cost per lead down some and kind of do some adjustments and stuff. But Brent, just because you have such an in-depth knowledge of this, and your goal is to make sure that you can capture this leverage over these real estate agents and then scale that, what do you think the biggest stopping block or the biggest challenge is in giving these realtors what they want? Is it qualified deals? Is it a system where they can get easy access to it? Or what exactly you think would help you give these realtors exactly what they want to help you get that?
Well, I think first and foremost, the most, in my opinion, and I've done a few different industries, but the most difficult lead to find is a person looking to buy a house. There's no mailing list for it. There are no triggers for it. It's kind of I'm not saying a crapshoot, but it is what it is. And most real estate agents spend their entire career networking, just getting to know people, getting the word out, hey, I'm a real estate agent. That way, if they ever know somebody who knows somebody looking for a house, their name might pop up. So for me, it's just finding that person that is looking to do something within the next 90 days that you can then put in touch with them. And that's the difficult part. And if you can do that, the rest is relatively easy. The qualification, the industry has changed. It's getting a lot easier, but there's so many programs out there for first-time home buyers, for people looking to move up. That part is the easy part. And it's, pull-through rates and all that, people that apply versus people that are qualified. But if you can put yourself in a position to where you're going to them with a qualified borrower that can close on a loan, that's gold, because that's what they're looking for. That's what they spend all day long trying to find, is that golden nugget, which is a prospect of someone looking to buy a house who can actually qualify.
What do you think, do you see, at least on your end, do you see any friction in that exchange and that handoff? Like, is there anything in there that's either troubling to you or where the communication can be dropped when you do that referral?
No, as long as it's a professional person that is a good realtor. I mean, I don't refer clients to, part-time realtors, people that have been in the business less than 12 months, people that haven't sold a significant amount of homes in the past 12 months. I mean, as long as you're comfortable. And
what are the qualifications? Can you lay those out? Like for someone to be a referral partner, what would the actual qualifications for you be? You're a pro.
Well, full-time real estate agent, number one. I like to see that they've been in the business for at least 5 years. And each MSA has ranking of top producers. I want to look at their marketing. I want to look at their strategy. And we do interviews with them. What does it look like for you? If a client calls you at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and they want to see a house at 2:30, what's your availability? And the other thing I look at is their team. I'm not looking for an individual real estate agent. I'm looking for a realtor that has a team of people where they've set up processes. They've set up a team that can go out and service clients, because I think that's huge. Yeah. So,
especially with these VA deals too, something that we found that works really well too is even adding in a qualification of them wanting to work with approved veterans too, or at least respecting them. And I know that that seems to keep their interest. Once you say that they need to do that.
And I'll give preference to that, because a lot of them, a lot of real estate agents are retired military. And to me, that's huge, because, if you don't like the military, that's the same as not liking puppies in my eyes. So.
Exactly. Well, hey, I appreciate that. I actually took some notes on that. I'm going to share something with you later, Brent. That's going to be a huge value. And just from those qualifications, I've got something good in mind with that. I appreciate you sharing that. Okay, guys, unless I'm going to go ahead and mute you back, Brent. I appreciate it. We're going to go into some screen share. But before we do that, Brian, does anybody have questions for Brent? Any short questions? I'm not paying him to be on the webinar today, so at least I haven't negotiated that yet. Just real quick.
Hey, no, I didn't get any messages.
Okay, cool. Anybody have questions? You want to drop a chat or open your mic real quick before we move on to the campaign? This is a legitimate professional loan officer. It's not fresh meat or anything, but I just wanted to give you guys this opportunity for all those questions that you always ask me. Brent is a great guy. So, okay. Well, I'll go ahead and we will start the screen share. Let me boot up Ads Manager real quick. If maybe somebody's still typing a question or something like that. While that's booting up, I'm going to also share a link over with everybody. Let's see. Yes. Okay. I'm going to share a link with you guys. There's a new publisher that's running mortgage refi host and post right now for $38 per lead that can take volume. So if anybody It's got to be refi specific, so I'm going to post that link up here if anybody wants to reach out to these guys. We're not partners or anything like that, but they are taking refi deals for $38 CPA, and the last update on that was today, so that might be something for you guys to check out if anybody's trying to find out where to put refi leads at. Let me go and pull up Ads Manager. Brent, I'll unmute you real quick while we do that. How do you think, I know that we've just started the onboarding with you, and right now we're emailing you leads. Today we talked about we're going to move you into CRM to start some backend automation and stuff like that. You sent some text messages yesterday and got some response. How would you say the quality so far, and what are your thoughts? And even if they're negative, I'd like to hear them too. Do you mind sharing that?
Well, no, like I said, I've only had, I think, a total of 8, and I've already got an application of a guy that's looking to do something in the next 30 days, so that's huge to me. But it's, you know, it's all about pull-through, and it's all about, you know, people go online, they think they want something, and then they fill out the information, and then, you know, sometimes it's tough to get in touch with them. So I think the CRM is going to help. I think that's going to, you know, drastically increase the conversion rate. But the other thing I want to mention, and I don't know if you guys are all aware of this or not, but even in a typical loan officer environment where you're getting leads from real estate agents exclusively, their pull-through rate, it's not like it's 100%. I mean, it's still, you know, 20 to 25%. So that's after you go out.
Were you on Zillow when we first talked? Or what platforms were you using before we started working with you, Brent?
It's Zillow is, in my opinion, is kind of a waste of money, but that's just.
What were the leads that you had before like? Were they responsive at all?
Yeah, I mean they're responsive, not any more so than what I'm getting from you. I think the big thing is catching them before. You know, Zillow is the same way. You know, that you apply on Zillow and they say it's exclusive, but then somehow it ends up with 14 different people. You know, Lending Tree is the same way, where they shop it out to, you know, 9 different lenders. You're putting yourself in a position to buy a lead where you're already going to be competing against a bunch of people. So what I like about your program is that I'm getting people before they get to that point. There's no influence from a real estate agent. It's me and them talking, and we put together a game plan on, you know, who the real estate agent is going to be, what's important in finding a realtor. And you're already that trusted advisor. Yeah. Right, it's a completely different conversation. Now, getting them on the phone, different story. And then, you know, you and I will kind of work through that. I think
this week. Yeah.
Right, and I think the CRM is going to help that. But above all of that is that you have to have a value proposition. It doesn't matter what you're selling. I mean, it's, you guys are all in different industries. You're marketing for different companies, and whether it's, you know, investing companies or whatever that is, there has to be a value proposition there. And to me, if you look at the majority of mortgage ads or, you know, mortgage companies' Facebook ads, it's what I call the no shits. And I'm sorry for saying that.
No, low-hanging fruit, you know, yeah, the dingleberries.
Right, well, but they advertise we have conventional loans, FHA, VA. Well, no shit, everybody does. I mean, there's no value proposition there. It's the same thing over and over. We have the best service.
How about that one? We've got the best service.
Exactly, and that doesn't do anything for anybody, especially this day and age. So if I can get them on the phone and I can go over my value proposition, which I will not share with all of you, but that to me is the key, because that's how you get them hooked on you. And you know, there are statistics. I think it's like 85% of people that are buying a house, the first real estate agent they talk to, they end up buying a house from them. It's the same way with a mortgage person. The first mortgage person they talk to, there's a really high probability that that's the person that they're going to use. Yeah, you take competitiveness out of the equation, but it's you build that rapport. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Or part-time, like you said, right?
Exactly. So there's a lot more to it. So
I appreciate that. Thanks, Brent. That's the stuff Brent shared is, and that stuff's incredibly valuable. I took a lot of notes, and I appreciate that, Brent. I've got some stuff I'm going to share with you after the call, Brent, as well. I appreciate that. All right, guys, so just like we do on these calls, I'm going to share in with Brent's campaign. I've got some other campaigns that we're running right now, but I want to share this one since we just started it. I've got some guys in the group that are like, well, I'm just getting started. How do I optimize a brand new campaign? Most of the clients that we have been with us for some time, so we've got tons of data that we can optimize for. I specifically set up Brent's campaign myself, and I specifically did it the quote-unquote green way, the way that you would do it with clean data, so that way we didn't, I could share the case with you guys throughout this month and kind of share some results that we're having with Brent, just because I felt like me and Brent have got along pretty good, so I didn't think that he would mind sharing this with you guys that aren't loan officers. So let's take a look at Survey Gizmo. Just like you guys have got the question template that we use, we've got a 53.8% completion rate. So that's really good. Typically, our target completion rates on these are around 18 to 20%. We're doing pretty good on broad targeting. So we've got a 53.8%. Now, we only have a total of 12 on this. I actually deleted, I think, 9 or 10 partials yesterday. So we've got 7 that have been completed so far. We're going to fix that today. Brent, by the way, you're about to get a whole bunch more volume this week. So we've got 58.3% on the completion. It looks like 77% of these have been new purchases. We've got 60% say sometime in the future. What I'm going to do with that, guys, I'm actually going to make a note to edit that question. And I wanted to show this to you specifically because the wording and the phrasing that you use in the questions that you ask can make a big difference. So we have one person that says, and I'll tell you why. One person says in the next month, 3 people have said within 90 days, and 6 have said sometime in the future. So I'm going to take a note, and if any of you guys are running this template, the question that we're running on other campaigns that should be on this campaign is not sure, okay? So instead of sometime in the future, it should be not sure. That's going to frame it up for your loan officer clients a lot better as well, because when they go back to reach out and contact these leads, it's going to give a better frame and perspective to the conversation. When they say, well, I said sometime in the future, that could be 8 months or 8 years. We're going to put not sure, so that way we can open the dialogue with our loan officer and their client to be a little bit more friendly and a little bit more driven to close a deal. It can be something like, you said you weren't sure when you were ready to go ahead and move forward. What would make you sure? Or what is it that you're looking for that would help you get there, instead of sometime in the future, okay? So that question needs to be edited. And Brent, if you're taking notes, we're going to do that. The next question we have is, how much would you like to borrow? It looks like we've got 50% of the completions have been 100 to 200,000. 37.5 been 200 to 300, and we have one person that said 400 plus. Great. This is always an interesting question. The reason that I have this in the local opt-ins is because we want to see what branches, and we've got to get a little bit more data here to really make a definitive answer, but we want to see which branches are more prominent there, and it looks like Army and Navy are pretty good. Air Force, we have 1. That's going to help us out in refining our targeting. Right now I've got active duty for Air Force, Navy, Army, Marines, and several others. So it looks like we don't have any for Marines yet. We don't have any for the other branches outside of U.S. Army and Navy. Brent, I'm going to unmute you real quick. Can you tell us a little bit about the Chicago military scene? Let me do that. What does it look like as far as vets that you've seen there locally anyway?
Well, I mean, it's pretty spread out just like anywhere else. It's just not a huge area for vets. It's, you know, whatever the reason, but you've got San Antonio, you've got California with the San Diego, and I think it really boils down to a lot of them retire at their last, where they were POC'd last. So in Chicagoland area, I think you got Great Lakes up there, and that's really about it. So I think you'll see a lot more, you know, active duty folks that are not in the Illinois area, and that's probably why.
I actually want to edit that question too, now that we're talking about it. I want to put retired on there. Do you think that makes sense, Brent?
It absolutely does, because if they've served 4 years, or if they've been in the reserves for, I think it's 6 years, they are still qualified for the benefit. So I think personally the active duty, my opinion, are the ones that are typically going to be the lower loan amounts. They're the ones that move around a lot, so they might be more prone to rent. But I think if you've got any military service, especially retired, those are definitely a demographic you would like to go after.
Okay, cool. I'm going to actually edit that. So anybody that's running that, take note of that. I want to add retired just because I'm curious as to, now we're going to look at the data on the Facebook side and we can see some interesting things, but the primary reason for us having this question, it's going to help Brent and the loan officers relate when they have conversations, but it's more so for us so that way when we go back to get our cost per lead down, we can actually exclude or include different segments. This part right here is key, and I'm going to unmute Brent again. It looks like we've got 28% have a 400 to 500 beacon self-reported. We all know that that could be inflated or deflated. Some people have no idea what the credit is. We have 14.3 at a 500, 600, but we have the majority 57.1%, which is great, at least self-reporting between 600 to 700. Brent, the two apps that you've got, have you run their credit yet, or what does that look like?
Yeah, they were 630, 650 range, which is definitely a doable deal.
Sweet. Awesome. Okay, so someone who's got you can go down to, what does the program in Chicago look like? You said 5-something, 520, 580?
Yeah, you can go down to 530. I mean, it's got to be some other, compensating factors, but you can go down to 530, but you're not getting that 400 to 500 range. If they're accurate with their prediction, those are probably not doable deals. However, a good loan officer can kind of coach them on how to get their credit score up. So those are also nice deals to have in kind of a tickler system.
Fill the back end pipeline.
Right, because if you get them up, and then the benefit of that is they're not rate conscious. They're going to stay with you no matter what, and it's a captive audience, so to speak. They're not going to get their credit score up to 600 and then leave and go to Bank of America.
Yeah, exactly. And I found, at least in talking with our clients that are working VA deals, veterans seem to be more loyal through the process and responsive to. Is that pretty much the case for you guys? Like they get the docs to you that they need and stuff?
Well, they are, but they're also confused about how the program works, which is kind of surprising. They have some misconceptions. The guy one of the apps I'm talking to, he didn't think his property was going to, the house he was looking at, because it was kind of a unique property, but he just thought that, VA is very picky, they're very stringent on guidelines, and a lot's changed, and they just don't realize that.
That's gold. That right there alone, guys, is gold, and that's the exact reason that we frame up the ads in this way. See if you qualify for the VA opportunity. Number one, we're targeting people who haven't engaged with the real estate agent or hopefully not engaged yet. Number two, it's going to position your client, Brent, as the professional through the process. But number three, as long as Brent can engage them, and I know Brent's doing a great job, as long as your client knows exactly how to move them through the process, you're automatically putting them into the role of the authority, the professional, the person who knows what's going on. And you would be surprised, and Brent may have found this out. I find this out all the time. I'm always learning stuff, but I assume that, once you kind of get in that echo chamber of working with specific clients for so long, you start assuming things, or you forget that the general public may not be, I'm not going to say not as bright, but not as informed as you might think that they are, right? And that's the reason I went through the beginning of this call asking Brent those questions. I learned a ton just on this call. But Brent, that's pretty interesting. Are the conversations that you're having with these people, are they, how does it feel when you talk to them after they fill out something off the internet? What does the conversation kind of go like?
Well, it starts off a little slow, but then you start talking, building rapport, and like I said, you just realize that they don't know a lot. And it's not, I guess a good question for your group is how many people have gone through the mortgage process?
Yeah,
and I ask that because I've got, I've had at any time 300 underwriters that have worked for me, and they do nothing but look at tax returns all day long, yet every single one of them wants H&R Block. So they can review tax returns, but they can't prepare their own. But it's the same thing. You go to a mortgage company, probably 80% of the processors have never bought a house, yet they're in this business. So it's a complicated process. It's a little bit scary. It's taking that plunge, but the vets are the same exact way. If they've never done it before, it's new to them. So you just got to walk them through it, take away some of the fear, and talk about the positive and what that looks like when you own a home. So
that's exactly right. Yeah, that's a great point, Brent. One thing that we're going to get into the ads here, but before I leave off with that, one thing I wanted to point out that Brent mentioned is that if you're working in a specific field, you can't assume into ignorance that just because you're generating leads that you don't need to have a more in-depth knowledge. And that's what I always tell you guys about doing the pain and pleasure worksheet, about doing the market research correctly. And one thing that, if you haven't done it yet, I know most of you have probably heard this from me already, but make sure that you go through, if you're doing loans, go through a business loan application process, go through LendingTree to see how the big people are actually branching out and doing non-exclusively, so you can see what the follow-up process is like. Add them to your swipe file. This is something for you too, Brent. One thing, and I'm going to share a couple things this week with you, Brent, but we need to start building out swipe files, especially for, not only for you guys, but for your clients too. You need to go see who's doing this really well, opt into their email, opt into their forms, collect all of that stuff that you're getting and put it into a file. We've got tons of swipe files that are in Rainmaker University for you guys, but the email opt-ins, what day do they send this email? What are they trying to do when they send you this text message? It needs to go into one document, so that way you've got the email autoresponders. You can kind of model it or pick out parts that you like best and that kind of stuff. That's key. I appreciate that, Brent. All right, guys, let's jump into the actual ad campaign.